All right, we're looking to look at the First Amendment and its protection of freedom of the press. So clearly, this is another important thing to a thriving democracy: is an independent press that's not going to be unfairly influenced by the government. So if you just look at the map up on the screen, this is one organization, Reporters Without Borders, and sort of their evaluation of how countries do when it comes to providing a free and independent press, like media in that country. So countries like the United States in the yellow tend to allow a great deal of freedom of the press. Like there are some rules that the press and the media have to follow, but generally the media is not controlled by the government. If you look at countries in the dark red and the black, I mean, essentially the government is controlling everything that the media does and controlling the message in the process. So the key vocab term that you want to take away from this particular slide is something called prior restraint. Prior restraint is when the courts basically tell somebody you can't say or write something before they actually do it. So I'm a government official. I catch wind that some newspaper or website is going to publish a story that I'm not happy with, and it's going to be published like on like 48 hours from now. So I go to a court and I try to get them to pass what's called like an injunction. That would be a court order that prevents them from actually publishing the story against me, right? In this country, courts are very unlikely, very hesitant to engage in what's called prior restraint. If the court did follow through and tell that media company you can't publish that story, that's called prior restraint. You're restraining the company from saying something before they say it. In this country, that's rare. In order for that to happen, the court has to be fairly certain that if they don't engage in prior restraint, that there's going to be some sort of danger to the country, national security is at risk. That might be the only chance in which the court would issue something that would stop speech from happening ahead of time if the government can prove that by them publishing it, there's going to be a dangerous situation in this country or national security is at risk or something like that. That's almost never the case, right? So almost always the courts would rather the information be published, and then the individual that's the target of the story could then just file a lawsuit, right? And you could deal with it after the fact. It would have to be a special circumstance to stop that speech from happening before it actually occurs.